Good wife.
Yes, lad. What can I do for you?
You know, I can't stop thinking about what happened to that poor wretch.
Have you no consideration for a poor old woman? I told you I don't want to talk about it.
It might relieve you to talk to someone.
Relieve me from what?
Well, guilt.
Guilt? Why should I feel guilty?
Well, clearly something weighs heavy on your soul, just like the other villagers. The older ones. And I'd say it's connected to that empty grave. Well, that wretch returns as a revenant, and no one does anything. It's not just fear, but more like everyone is expecting some punishment that was bound to come one day.
Oh, you might be right. Maybe it would give me some peace in my old age to finally tell the whole story. Several people from the village went to have it out with Lev, but he grabbed an axe and drove them off. He swore if anyone came near him, he'd burn their house down. Then he buried his wife and child in the meadows beyond Ledetrico. I saw him carving 3 statues there.
Lev, you say his name was? Ah. What kind of statues?
There's 3 roughly carved beams there, each with a human face, except the smallest, which has no face at all.
For the stillborn child, I suppose. What happened then?
Nothing. He went back to his work, but never spoke to the villagers again. He'd even go all the way to Ratte for food, rather than talk to anyone here.
So he died alone in the end?
Actually, it was the villagers. It was us that killed him.
What? Just on account of his stealing?
No. Not long after, fires started springing up in the village. And when the first house burned down, the folk were very angry.
And of course suspicion fell on Lev.
Everyone was dead certain it was him. They all remembered his words. Do you know how arsonists are punished, lad?
No, I don't.
By burning on the pyre. But no one wanted to waste time with the law. We just went to his house at night, smashed in the door and windows, and threw lighting torches inside. And that was the end of him. But the fires didn't stop.
So he was innocent?
He was.
Well, I won't condemn you for it. It's for God to judge, but... may he forgive you for it.
Thanks, lad. I pray every day for forgiveness, and it's a weight off my shoulders to tell someone. Goodbye.
How are you, Henry?
Welcome, Henry.
Ladies and gentlemen, good men and good wives, come closer. Poor or rich, old or young, there's something here for everyone. Magical ointments, protective amulets. I hope I can be of some humble service to you.
What about the dead man's remains?
You still have them?
No, you said to keep them. What do I do with them now?
I'll buy them from you.
What on earth for?
The bones of a revenant. Those can be valuable goods. What do you say?
Sorry, no.
God be with you.
So, how am I doing so far?
What? You've already started? Yeah, there hasn't been a whisper so far. You should put more effort into it.
That's still not enough, is it?
You've hardly even started yet. Goodbye.
What's the recipe for that potion you were talking about?
You mean for coloring the water? Oh, well,
Well,
pay close attention now.
I'm all ears.
How love turned to bloodshed. Once there was a knight who, though upright and noble-looking, had a prickly, unapproachable appearance. He fell in love with a fragile young maid, whom he saw with her sisters in a field, all wearing bright red ribbons. But he was afraid his prickly exterior would frighten her. So he asked the advice of another knight, a pious and learned crusader, who carried the name of the patron saint of his order with pride. The pious knight told him he would arrange a rendezvous with the maid. All three would drink wine together by the river, and he would help his friend to get acquainted with her. This they did, but the maid fell in love instead with the pious knight. The stern knight was enraged and challenged his rival to a duel. The two fought long and fiercely, but they were equally matched. And so, in the end, they both fell mortally wounded. Anguished at the tragedy her beauty had caused, the young maid took a dagger from one of the knights and plunged it into her own heart. Their bodies lay together on the ground, and the blood flowed from them into the river, turning the waters crimson.
I thought you were going to tell me the recipe, not some fable.
It is the recipe. I mean, the recipe is concealed in the story.
What on earth for?
So I don't forget it.
All right. So what does it mean?
I can't remember.
Great. So if you don't know, who does?
You'll figure it out, my loyal apprentice. I remember there are 3 plants in the story, but that's about all. But I know it was a simple recipe. It should be enough to grind the ingredients and brew them together for one turn. So, all you have to do is work out what the ingredients are from the story.
Sure. Why make things simple if you can complicate them? What's the recipe for that potion you were talking about?
Pay close attention now.
I'm all ears.
How love turned to bloodshed. Once there was a knight who, though upright and noble-looking, had a prickly, unapproachable appearance. He fell in love with a fragile young maid, whom he saw with her sisters in a field, all wearing bright red wimples. But he was afraid his prickly exterior would frighten her. So he asked the advice of another knight, a pious and learned crusader, who carried the name of the patron saint of his order with pride. The pious knight told him he would arrange a rendezvous with the maid. All 3 would drink wine together by the river, and he would help his friend to get acquainted with her. This they did, but the maid fell in love instead with the pious knight. The stern knight was enraged and challenged his rival to a duel. The two fought long and fiercely, but they were equally matched. And so, in the end, they both fell mortally wounded. Anguished at the tragedy her beauty had caused, the young maid took a dagger from one of the knights and plunged it into her own heart. Their bodies lay together on the ground, and the blood flowed from them into the river, turning the waters crimson.
Welcome, Henry.
Take care.
Would you teach me more about alchemy?
Certainly.
Well, I'll think it over. Will you teach me how to pickpocket better?
Certainly.
Well, I'll think it over.
Good luck then. Powder made of the bones of St. Thomas.
Yeah.
How does life in Rat Eye suit you?
I suppose it was kind of them to take us in. But then they just left us to fend for ourselves. Nobody gives a damn about us.
Good luck then.
Dear people, won't you start singing everything I had
God save you, Henry!
I'm interested in your services.
So what are you interested in?
I've heard you have nice girls here.
I'm sure you'll be extremely satisfied.
God save you, Henry.
What kind of governor is Sir Hanush?
Sir Hanush is a good lord. Things won't be the same when that wastrel Sir Hans takes over. That will be a sorry day.